I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't know where I'd be. And I don't know what I'd be. So thank you. And I still do believe with all my heart that ORU's best days are still ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joseph. Appreciate those great words. And now please join me in welcoming the chair of the ORU Board of Trustees, Mark Green.
Wow, what an exciting day it has been. It's been exciting to be here, and just want to, first of all, introduce some of my family members who are here. You heard about my mom and dad, but I have my mom and dad here, David and Barbara Green, and I have my sister and her husband. That's Stan and Darcy Lett right here. Wavy hands. And my brother's son and his wife is here, Derek and Erica Green, right here. So, this is and then of course I have my wife here, my sweetheart, my Valentine. Almost missed. I bought her a real nice gift. I did. So this was, you know, when you hear us talk about there's 5 of us that prayed, 5 couples. This represents 4 of the 5 families. My cousin was unable to be here. He'll be at the basketball game tonight. Got his priorities straight, I guess. So he'll be at the game. And so it's been an honor for our family to partner with ORU. Many of you have thanked us and been very kind, very considerate. But you got to understand, for us, it's an incredible blessing to partner with a ministry of, just like we've heard these stories tonight, thousands of them around the world. So it's been an honor of ours. And of course, about a year ago at this time, then we had to go through a presidential search. And the first thing we did, we had to find an interim president. And I want to acknowledge again Ralph and Darlene Fagan and what they've done. They've done an incredible job as our interim president. Thank you, Ralph, for what you've done. And then next, as shared governance, we got everybody together and said, what's our ideas? And we came up with what was called an institutional audit and presidential opportunity statement. In other words, who is ORU and what are we looking for in a president? So we put that document together, did a lot of hard work, faculty, staff, students, trustees, and then we gave that to Bruce Dingman. Bruce Dingman, of course, we hired as our search consultant. Bruce then took that document and made the presidential profile out of that. Bruce said we had way too many qualifications in it. So he made us cut it down, and then he wrote in here, one of the statements was, nobody will have all of these characteristics. Even after we cut it down, you know, we still had 40 things that we wanted in our president. And so, but we at least knew what we were looking for. You know, we wanted Jesus, but we wanted him to be popular, you know, so that he wouldn't get crucified. And so we went out searching. We went through 138 applications, and then we put together a presidential search committee. We had 5 trustees, we had a student, we had an alumni, we had a faculty, and we had a staff member. So again, shared governance, and we went through that process. As many of you know, we interviewed 3 candidates back in December and did not find the right candidate. It just didn't feel like God had brought the right one. Some incredible people that we interviewed, but not the right one. And so, but then we interviewed another candidate, obviously Dr. Rutland, and really felt he was the one. So the presidential search committee presented that to the board. But before we took it to the board, I wanted to be sure that Oral had met Mark Rutland. I knew that Oral was not going to be able to make the trustee meeting, but I felt it was very important that Oral met Mark Rutland. Of course, what I hadn't told Mark, and so Mark's excited to meet Oral. I mean, you can imagine, first time, he had met him many years ago, but to meet Oral one-on-one in person is quite a treat, as you can imagine. And so I remember flying out there, and Mark was so excited to get to meet Oral, some of the books he wrote, how it transformed his life. And what I never did tell Mark was the only name that Oral ever gave me, and he gave me every time I came out to see him, was, what about Dr. Mark Rutland? When are you going to get Dr. Mark Rutland? And I said, Oral, I'm doing the best I can. I cannot get him to put his hat in the ring, you know. Finally he said, well, Mark, you need to be the president. And so then I started working real hard on Mark. I said, Mark, you're coming, you know. And so burning bush has happened, you know, and so anyway, but I never told Dr. Rutland that. Even through all the process, I never told him that Oral had given me, it was the only name that he gave me. So it was quite a surprise or a joy for me to see Oral's response. I knew what it would be when Dr. Rutland got there, overjoyed. Can you imagine Oral embracing you, hugging you, and saying, "You're the person I've been praying for months to take this university"? It was an amazing moment. And we can't recreate that moment, but that's part of the reason that I asked Oral to come back tonight, is to share with you his heart, and he will here in a minute. But one of the things and then of course the trustees voted unanimously for Dr. Mark Rutland. But as we went through the process on those 40 things, me and Diana went out and met Allison and Mark, and we got a couple here. We got an incredible team in Mark and Allison, and you're going to love both of them immensely. But when me and Diana went out there and met them, on the way back, I read through this document, the 40 things, because, well, we already said what we wanted. Let's see how this guy just did. 39 out of 40 items we both felt like he had. The 40th one was that God called them and the Holy Spirit. Now, I couldn't answer that question. That was up to Mark, and Mark did. So 40 out of 40, that's a miracle in itself, that God gave us the person that we identified. And you're going to be excited. I mean, the other thing that was important to me is at ORU, we want our students to be spiritually alive, intellectually alert, physically disciplined, socially adept, and professionally competent. It seems like if that's what we ask our students to be, our president ought to be the embodiment of that. And I want to introduce to you an embodiment of a whole person, and your next president, Dr. Mark Rutland. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. I want to just begin by giving you the opportunity of a lifetime. I thought you might want to just cast your eyes on the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. I used to introduce Allison as the most beautiful woman that ever lived, but it got me in 3 fistfights, and I lost all of them. So now I just introduce her as the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, and I don't get in the struggles anymore. We want to just greet you briefly tonight, and I'd like to ask Allison, she hasn't really spoken to groups here yet, but I want her to take a moment. I kind of have to nudge her sometimes to the microphone, but I'd like her to take a moment and bring you greetings.
It is such an honor and privilege to be here. We are so excited about this whole experience, and it's been quite amazing so far. I had never been to the state of Oklahoma except once. Many years ago, my brother took his master's degree here at ORU, and he was living in Broken Arrow, which I thought was a very unusual name. And I came out to see him at the time he was graduating and so forth. And that was my only experience with Oklahoma. They really enjoyed their time here and his experience being in the seminary here. So it was so odd to me when we began to sense that God might be calling us here. I'm like, God, but I've never been there. I don't know anything about it. I've never lived anywhere in the West at all. And I was just reminded of how many times biblically God said, get up and go to the place that I will show you. And he's not exactly concerned about whether we know anything about Oklahoma or not. So I'm learning so much already. I have to tell you, this is a very wonderful place. I love this place. It's just great. I mean, the people are so nice, and I don't know, I have such a sense that this is a place God is calling us for this season. And, of course, we don't know, where we're going to be living exactly, or what's going to be happening, or when we'll exactly arrive, or when our house in Florida will sell. That should be on your prayer list. And so many things, but it's just a most amazing time for us, and every interaction I have with this university and the people here, it's just a sense of joy and unity and a purpose. And Mark and I have spent our lives seeking to have opportunities to serve